What's next for Islam Makachev after UFC 302? You guessed it, it's Arman Tsarukyan. I don't think Islam Makachev has done enough to move up to 170 just yet. I think a champion needs to really make a statement in his own weight class before trying to call for that champ status. And unfortunately for Islam, I don't think he's done it just yet. Dustin Poirier was his first real title defense against a ranked lightweight. I'm not saying that to diminish his wins against Volkanovski, because I know a lot of people do that. The wins against Volkanovski are good for his all-time status because Volkanovski is still a good opponent. But to make a statement as a lightweight GOAT, you need to beat lightweight contenders. And from the top 5 at lightweight, he's beat Charles Oliveira recently, he's beat Dustin Poirier recently, and he beat Arman Tsarukyan a few years ago off of his debut and on short notice. He has not made a strong enough statement to move up yet. If those are the only wins you have in the top 5, one of them being so long ago. And Arman Tsarukyan has improved a lot since then, and he is the guy to beat Makachev. I don't think he will. I'll pick Makachev if they announce that fight, but I think he has the skill set to beat him. And if Gaethje gets back in the win column, he could call for a title shot against Makachev, because Poirier did the same thing. Poirier was knocked out by Gaethje, got a win against Benoit Saint-Denis, and then got a title shot. Gaethje just got flatlined by Holloway, but if he wins against a top-ranked lightweight, then sure, he can be right in line for a title shot. If Max Holloway decides to stay at lightweight and call for a fight with maybe Conor after his fight with Chandler, then maybe he can call for a title shot too. Or if Max Holloway beats Ilya and then decides to move up to lightweight, he can have a champ fight with Makachev, because I think if Holloway beats Ilya, that's his only plan of action, the champ fight. There are all these matchups for Islam you can make at lightweight still, and I don't think he should be moving up. And also there are a bunch of matchups you can make for Leon Edwards at welterweight. Leon's about to fight Bilal right now. I know I said Bilal could beat Leon, but I might change that pick. I'll make a video about that later. But if Leon gets through Bilal, then we have Shavkat. Then we have JDM. Then we have the winner of MVP Gary. We have a very stacked welterweight division with all these new contenders that have an argument for a title shot. To have Islam cut the line for a welterweight title shot after beating 2 lightweights in the top 5 recently, I'm not counting the Arman win. It doesn't make sense to have Islam cut the line after having a defense against one ranked lightweight contender. So this is the fight that's next for Islam, and I think Arman Tsarukyan is the style to beat Islam, and I'm going to break that down. Islam struggles with short, stocky wrestlers, and that is exactly who Arman Tsarukyan is. And we've just seen Islam's grappling look kind of subpar against Dustin Poirier. But in Islam's defense, he had staph infection, as he claimed in the post-fight press conference. He confirmed that he actually did have staph, and that's what we saw in his left leg. Because even I was thinking there's something up with Islam's game. When I was watching the fight live, Islam was not throwing many kicks. I called this as I watched it live, and I mentioned this in my post-fight immediate reaction. A big part of Islam's striking game is his kicks, and when I made my prediction video, I mentioned that. I mentioned in my prediction video that Islam is probably not going to play the boxing game with Poirier, and the only striking he's going to do is kicks at range. Kick the legs, kick the body, kick the head, mix it up, low, high, have Poirier thinking, where do I put my hands? Low? Do I block the body? Do I block my head? Poirier just got knocked out with a head kick, so I thought this was going to be a big factor in this fight, especially because Islam is coming off of a head kick KO against Volkanovski. But Islam threw like 2 or 3 kicks that whole fight, and I think it's because of the staph infection he had on his left leg. Also, his grappling looked a bit subpar. In the Volkanovski fight, he was taking down Volkanovski. He was timing these great takedowns against a shorter opponent in Volkanovski that he wasn't pulling off against Dustin Poirier. For example, in round 4 against Volkanovski, he timed that beautiful takedown, and from there he got Volkanovski's back and won that round. He never did anything slick like that against Dustin Poirier, but I think the explanation for that is A, he had staph like I mentioned. B, Dustin Poirier is a southpaw. Volkanovski mentioned this in his prediction video for this fight. He mentioned that Islam dips his head to the side when he's doing a takedown, and he dips his head to the non-power side of his opponent. And now since Islam is a southpaw and he's used to fighting orthodox opponents, the non-power side would be to Islam's right or his opponent's left. With Dustin Poirier, it's the opposite. He's a southpaw. If you dip your head to the left, that's Dustin Poirier's power side. And C, Dustin Poirier was not engaging that much with Makachev. Dustin Poirier was not letting the hands fly as much. He was not stepping through with big shots because he was afraid of the takedown. If you watch Islam's fight with Volkanovski and then you watch his fight with Poirier, you'll see that Volkanovski was going in with a lot more shots and being a lot busier than Poirier was. Dustin Poirier looked more hesitant because of that takedown threat. Most of the big strikes he landed were when Islam was in the pocket or in the clinch. But when they were both at range, Dustin Poirier was not coming in with many big shots. He landed some good cracking shots, but not as much as we expected him to in the stand-up. When you combine all 3 of those factors, it makes sense why Islam performed the way he did. I know it's very easy to see a fighter who we expected to be so dominant have a close fight and then all of a sudden take all their hype train and throw it in the garbage. People are doing that against Khamzat Chimaev, and I made a video saying don't doubt Khamzat Chimaev. He is going to beat Robert Whittaker with ease. I know he had a close fight with Usman, but that does not mean he is washed. But now people are going to do the same thing with Islam. He had a close fight with Poirier, and when they announced that Tsarukyan fight, people are going to say Arman Tsarukyan is going to be the one to beat him. For Hamza, he broke his hand against a very good wrestler in Kamaru Usman, so he struggled with him in the later rounds, and people said, oh, this guy's washed. They didn't take into account that Hamza Chimaev literally broke his hand. And in this fight, all the factors that I just mentioned, like Islam having staph infection, Dustin Poirier being a southpaw, and Dustin Poirier not letting the hands fly like we expected him to, hopefully none of these factors will be present in the Arman Tsarukyan fight unless Islam gets staph infection again. Arman Tsarukyan is not a southpaw, so Islam's going to be a lot more comfortable shooting takedowns. Arman Tsarukyan probably won't be as afraid to engage, so Islam can time the takedowns better there. And also, Arman's striking is not nearly as good as Poirier's. So I think the striking is going to be a deciding factor in this fight. Islam won't have staph in his leg, so he'll be kicking a lot more. Islam won't be gassed because of staph infection. I think in the clinch, Islam Makachev is a lot better than Tsarukyan, and given Tsarukyan is a 5'7" midget, I think Islam Makachev is going to knee him right in that head and do a lot of damage. I think Tsarukyan still has good striking, but I think Islam will outclass him on the feet. Yeah, Arman landed an axe kick against Charles Oliveira, but besides that, what did he land in that fight? Ground and pound. That's another area where Arman Tsarukyan is very strong in, which is the ground and pound, but I don't think that's going to be a big factor in this fight. I don't think Islam Makachev is going to be on bottom position a lot. That's a big difference in the styles between Islam and Charles. Charles is a jiu-jitsu fighter. Those guys love to be on their back. That's what cost Charles the fight, by being comfortable on his back, trying to look for a submission. Islam does not fight like that. So if you take down Islam, he's going to be looking to get right back up to his feet immediately. If Arman can even take him down, I think Islam's going to defend it well and probably keep it standing. If Islam is shooting takedowns in their fight and he realizes that Arman is defending them very well and scrambling a lot, he's just going to stick to the stand-up. He did that against Poirier. Against Poirier, when he struggled with the takedowns, he said, I'm going to strike with Poirier. If there's any fighter that you're going to panic wrestle and be scared of striking with, it's Poirier. But Islam didn't pull Aljamain Sterling. He didn't sit on his knees. He didn't keep diving and looking for that takedown. No, he said, well, guess what? We're going to stand and bang. He said, the takedown's not working? Okay, clinch, knee, then we'll shoot again. So if the wrestling doesn't work, he'll switch to the striking for a little bit, and then he'll go back to the wrestling. If that doesn't work, go back to the striking. He displayed a very, very well-rounded skill set against Dustin Poirier. Even with staph infection, he still had the performance that he did. So I can see Arman Tsarukyan being a tough challenge for Islam in the grappling department, but if Islam goes striking mode, I think he can take this fight easily. Or not easily, I should say. It will still be a tough fight, but I think he can take it. The only problem with Islam is he marks up very easily. We've seen him get these cuts and bruises very often, so that could be big in the scoring. But I think even in the grappling department, I don't think Arman is as good as Islam. Against Oliveira, Arman was getting caught in a lot of submission attempts. When we saw Islam fight Oliveira, he was not getting caught in the same submission attempts. And I know MMA math does not work, but it can work if you do it properly. So for example, Arman Tsarukyan's grappling against Oliveira was not nearly as impressive as Islam's grappling against Oliveira. They're both going against the same fighter, so we can say that Islam's grappling is better than Arman and that he's more dominant on top position. So I think in the grappling department, I would still give the favor to Islam, and in the striking department, I would definitely give the favor to Islam. So if this fight happens, I see Islam taking it. And another factor we have to mention is that there's a mythical fighter known as Islam Makachev in Abu Dhabi. Whenever Islam fights in Abu Dhabi, he does a very good job. Against Dan Hooker, first round submission. Against Charles Oliveira, second round submission. Against Volkanovski, first round knockout. Islam Makachev is a different breed in Abu Dhabi. I don't know what they're doing over there. I don't know what they're feeding him. It could be that he has a lot more time to rehydrate in Abu Dhabi, if I'm not mistaken. So I think since this fight is probably going to happen in Abu Dhabi, Islam will have another advantage on his side. Not only the home crowd, but whatever rehydration things they got going on over there. Islam is a mythical fighter in Abu Dhabi. So all things considered, don't count out Islam when this fight gets announced. And you're going to see a lot of people picking Arman, and you're going to see the odds a lot closer than they would normally be for an Islam fight. In most of Islam's fights, he's a huge favorite. I don't think you can have that anymore because of that tough performance he had against Poirier. And because of the tough performance he had against Volkanovski. He's had some close fights now. And Arman is a very good challenge for him. If Arman takes this, I wouldn't be surprised on damage because Islam marks up very easily. But for an official pick, very early on, I'm going to go with Islam. I might change this later. I doubt it though. But I'm going to go with Makachev to win this one. I don't think he'll knock out Arman or submit him unless it's in the later rounds and Arman gets very gassed. If this goes to decision, I can see Islam winning a lot of rounds off of striking and off of maybe top control. But I think it'll be a close fight, and honestly, it could go to either one. But if Islam wins this fight, he will really cement himself as the lightweight GOAT in my eyes. And then he could have an argument to move up to 170 or maybe one more defense and then he moves up. It depends on the state of the lightweight division at the time in October, so we have to see what matchups they make. But Arman Tsarukyan is a very good fight. I'm very, very excited for this one. And if Arman beats Islam, they'll probably do a trilogy fight. I don't think they'll just let Arman move on to another contender. They'll give Islam his shot again. So this leaves the lightweight division with a lot of cool possibilities. But yeah, Islam should not be moving up right now. He should face this challenge that is Arman Tsarukyan. I know it's a rematch, but come on, don't bank on that win you got a couple years ago. Arman has improved a lot. Anyways, like and subscribe. Let me know what you think about this matchup in the comments below. I'll see you guys later.